Hey, real life. I'm Richie Shaw. I just wanted to share a quick story with you. This week, yesterday at services, we were talking about having a level of resolve in the midst of the opposition that rises. We're trying to do this thing that God's called us to. We're trying to keep our focus on Jesus, keep our focus on the mission that He's put in front of us. We know that as we begin to talk about finances, especially in this season of looking ahead at the next 24 months, all that God's put in front of us, it's just a tough conversation whenever we start talking about finances. And I just want to share this story to encourage you today. My wife and I, when we moved here 2.5 years ago to plant this church, to start this church, Real Life Spokane, it was a tough financial commitment for us. I got to tell you, we were moving west where cost of living was more for us from Idaho to Spokane. It's a short move, but at the same time, it was a massive increase for us that way. Not only that, we weren't able to sell our house, and so we still own a house over there, and we were forced to rent it out in order to not basically foreclose on it or whatever, the typical thing is going on right now. And so we rented it out, but we were able to really only rent it at a loss for us. And that monthly loss has been this constant nagging reminder of just kind of the sacrifice that it took and takes for our family to do what God's called us to do, to live according to the calling, the mission that God has put in front of us. And I don't share this to make you feel anything about me, but just for perspective. Well, the family that moved in there had asked us several years ago if we knew any good churches in the Seattle area where I'd grown up and where I'd come from, because they had a young man, a son, that was moving over there to play baseball and wanted to help him get connected into a church. And so, of course, we knew, my mentor's church, we knew some people over there. And so we plugged him in, and he got plugged in right away and really didn't hear much else about that. Well, we were this over in Seattle this week. We took the team over to a conference, an awesome conference where we were learning about leadership and how to be the men and the women that God's called us to be. And my wife and I are standing, grabbing a cup of coffee in the lobby of this where we were having the conference at, and a young man walked up to us and he said, "Hey, are you Richie?" And of course, we're like, "Yeah, yeah. Hey, I knew it was you. I just wanted to come and I just wanted to tell you thank you. I just really wanted to tell you about the connection that changed my life." And we're like, my name is Brennan, and we're like, "Okay, cool." And he said, "My parents rent your house in Idaho." We were just kind of blown away, like how small this world is that we run into this guy. Well, and he proceeds to tell us that connection literally changed his life, that God got a hold of his heart through that connection into that church, that he began to intern, that he was called to pastor, to ministry. Now he's not even playing baseball anymore. He's training theologically to be a man of God, to be this pastor that God has called him to be. And he's just emotional in tears as he's telling us about this connection and how much God has done through this simple conversation, this hookup that we gave him to get connected in this group. And for my wife and I, we just look at each other in tears, just overwhelmed at the faithfulness of God. Going, yeah, this level of resolve, this commitment that is taken for us to continue to be on mission with God, to obey what God has called us to pastor this church, to lead this church in Spokane, to help be the people, the men and women that God has called us to be. It just brought this overwhelming just excitement to our hearts to see fruit in a way that we never counted, a way that we never anticipated. See a young man's life absolutely transform. He said this, that connection changed my life. We're so humbled to be a part of what God's doing. We're blown away. We love God. We love the mission that He's called us to. We love you, real life. And I just want to share this just to encourage you today. Hang in there. Keep a level of resolve and just know that God is faithful. God is calling you. God wants to use you. I just challenge you and encourage you with this story today. Love you. Just want to share this with you in the midst of real life.